Hi, hello, my name is Ruswan Mustafa. I'm one of the lecturers in policing at the University of Huddersfield, and welcome to one of a series of short presentations that we've developed for the purposes of supporting students who are on the Police Now degree or diploma programme with their academic journey through the course. This presentation is titled Understanding the Research Question, and although it relates to question, the content of it is applicable to any form of problem that is presented to you throughout the course of the programme. Be that a presentation, be that a poster or a video that you need to construct. And irrespective of your academic background, hopefully everybody will find the content of it useful, either as a refresher or as something that is an aid memoir for you as you navigate your way through the course. The aim of this particular presentation is to provide you with an insight on how to engage with a research question or a problem, and its objectives are threefold. Firstly, to understand the different types of questions or problems, to understand their structure, and to understand how you tackle the question or problem that is in front of you. Okay, so broadly speaking, there are two types of question. One is a specific question, and the other is a middle-aged male by the looks of it. As you can probably tell, I'm not the most gifted person when it comes to creativity, and that's the best illustration I could find of a general, so I used it. Nevertheless, a general question. So the two types of question that we deal with are specific in terms of what they're asking for, and general in terms of what they want you to discuss and explore. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the examples of a specific question and a general question. Firstly, in our everyday lives, and this may come across as a very basic example, but just purely for illustration, how is your day today? So I'm interested in you, I'm interested in your day, and I'm interested in your day today. Those are some of the specific things that I want to know. A more general variation of that, how are things? And you can see the differences between the two. And if we relate that principle of a specific or a general question in an academic setting, it becomes a bit more intricate. So if we look at a specific question, for argument's sake, evaluate the argument that positive action in recruitment leads to better representation of BAME communities in the police service. Very specific question in terms of what you're being asked to engage with and discuss. And compare that to a general question, evaluate the role of community policing in the reduction of crime. Much more broad, much more open-ended. But irrespective of whether a question is broad or general, it consists of the same sort of structure, the same type or components that make a question. And we'll go into that in the next slide. The structure of a question is similar irrespective of whether the question being asked is a specific question or whether it's a general question. And the structure of a question, broadly speaking, looks something like this. So you've got the question here, and below the question, or a part of the question, you've got three component parts. One is the directive. That's the instruction. That's what you're being asked to do by the examiner, by the person who set the problem for you. They want you to do something, and that's known as the directive or the instruction. And there's a bunch of directives that will be included in one of the following slides, and they all have specific meanings, and we'll upload those meanings for you onto Brightspace for you to engage and understand what they mean, so you can kind of navigate your way through the problem with a bit more clarity. But that's the directive, that's the instruction. And that instruction relates to a particular subject area. So one of the questions they were talking about positive action, one of the questions they were talking about section 60. But irrespective of what that subject is, it will have its limitations. They want you to stop talking about it at some point. What is that point? And that's the limitation of the question. So broadly speaking, a question consists of three component parts: an instruction to do something. That instruction relates to a particular subject area, and that subject area has its limitations. They want you to talk about something within a particular framework. And we can apply this principle to the basic question or the specific question or the general question that were in the slides before. So let's have a quick look at that and see what that looks like. So the specific example here related to this question here evaluate the argument that positive action in recruitment leads to better representation of BAME communities in the police service. So the directive that you're being asked to do, the instruction that you're being asked to undertake, is evaluate. Now, as mentioned, what evaluate means has a very specific direction, very specific meaning that will be uploaded onto Brightspace for you to have a look at. But generally, it's an evaluation of all of the theory, all of the research in relation to a particular subject matter that you need to critically engage with, analyze it, and then arrive at a evidence-based conclusion. Yeah, that's your evaluation of the data, of the research. And the subject area that they're asking you to talk about is positive action. Yeah, so you need to understand what positive action is, and they're asking you about positive action in recruitment. So this is the subject area, and that leans into a little bit of a limitation as well, because they're asking you about positive action, not in retention of BME staff, not in progression of BME staff, but in the recruitment of BAME and BME staff. And BAME and BME communities are the limitation. Yeah, so they don't want you talking about all of the other protected characteristics that are part of the Equalities Act. They're asking you to talk about a particular strand of that. Yeah. So focus your conversations, focus your research, your reading, your literature on BAME communities, black and minority ethnic communities, not on the other aspects of the Equalities Act that relate to positive action. So within this one question, you can see the directive, the evaluation. You can see the subject, the positive action, and a little bit of the limitation here in recruitment. And you can see the limitation in terms of BAME communities. Now, once you've understood that, then that gives you the ammunition, so to speak, to go out and interrogate the resources, the library, the electronic spaces, based upon the way that you've deconstructed the question. So you're going to be looking for positive action in recruitment, and you're going to be framing your research, your reading, your literature gathering around BAME communities. Yeah, that gives you a lot more focus in terms of your research time and preparation. And the same principle. Okay, now similarly, an example of a general question, and the general question that was utilised in a few slides before was evaluate the role of community policing in the reduction of crime. So you've got the directive, which is evaluate, you've got the subject, which is community policing, and you've got the limitation in the reduction of crime. So you're being asked to evaluate, and again, what that means will be available for you to have a look at on Brightspace. The subject that they want you to talk about is community policing, what that looks like. So, the literature around community policing, defining that, understanding that. And specifically, the limitation in relation to it is the reduction of crime. So how that features in specifically to reducing crime, not necessarily looking at community cohesion, not looking at recruitment from BME communities, not looking at the other ancillary benefits of community policing, but specifically limiting your conversation and discussion on the reduction of crime. So this is much more broad in terms of what it's asking for as a question, but even with that broadness, that generality of the question, there's still limitations that are put in place for you to frame your discussions within, and that will be the components upon which your assignment is or your submission is assessed and marked. How well have you engaged with the directive? How well have you understood that? How well have you related that directive to the subject? And how have you limited your conversation within that particular subject area based upon what was asked of you? Okay. Now, we mentioned a bit about directives, and broadly speaking, this is what they look like. So these are some of the terms that you will come across whilst on this course and any other academic course. Analyze, comment on, compare, contrast, and all of these have a meaning. There is some overlap. So compare and contrast has a discernible overlap. Criticize and critically evaluate. Evaluate was what you were asked to do. Discuss, explore, one of the things that comes in as well. So all of these have a specific meaning, and it's a directive that's being asked of you when you engage with the question. As mentioned, we'll upload these and what they mean onto Brightspace for you to have a look at. So as we come to the end of the presentation, it's a very short presentation. There's a bunch of resources that are at your disposal. The University of Huddersfield has a great online resource space. I would encourage everybody to go and have a look at it. Even with your remote working, wherever you are across the country, you can access that. You can access that remotely, and I'm sure you can link in to some remote appointments with the Academic Writing Advisory Service. University of Birmingham here as well has some fantastic resources as well as evaluations and blog articles that you can find on places like Google Scholar, Oxbridge Essays, and so on and so forth. That's pretty much it, folks. Remember, the library is your academic nucleus. It is a space where you can grow intellectually and academically, a great deal. And whilst you've got the resource open to you, I would encourage absolutely everybody to go and use it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. My contact details are at the beginning of the slide, and I'm sure anybody else in the department would be more than happy to help and support you. This presentation, the slides, will be uploaded onto Brightspace as well, so you'll be able to access these links. Thank you very much, and all the best.